The tree of liberty needs refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. A quote from Thomas Jefferson, and one that many hold near and dear. Did y'all catch Joe Biden's conference this afternoon about gun control? Or whatever the main point of the conference was. I can only stand about 15 to 20 seconds of Joe Biden talking. Thank God the clips are short. Before I just feel like I'm dumb. He used that quote, the tree of liberty needs water from time to time with the blood of patriots, failing the last word, the very important word of tyrants. Interesting times we're living in right now, guys. The tyranny is stacking up and getting deep. Really could go for a mean tweet right now. Man, Joe Biden was just on a roll today. He said, I don't know if it was an attempt to be funny, but he says nobody needs a gun that can shoot or hold 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 rounds. Unless, of course, the deer are wearing Kevlar. Ha ha. That's hysterical. I mean, I'm still searching for that line in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment, that says anything about hunting. I've looked for it for the last 25 years. Interesting how I can't find it. But, I don't know. Interesting times that we live in where Joe Biden says the only way that we could overtake the government is by F-15s and nuclear weapons. Yet for the last 6 months, we've been told by the Democrats that there was an armed insurrection and attempted government overtake on January 6th. Yet no firearms or weapons were found in the premises. Reportedly, from the news and some friends of mine who were actually in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, there was nearly 1 million people there. And apparently there was less than 200 of them who stormed the Capitol. God bless Ashley Babbitt, who was shot dead in the Capitol building by a black Capitol police officer, who is still remaining to be unannounced as to who he is. But an armed insurrection, a threat to our democracy, our actual constitutional republic, excuse me, let me correct them. Yeah, what actually turned out to be was, a bunch of people there for a protest, and a few people were let into the Capitol and allowed to walk through the areas of the Capitol with law enforcement there, opening doors for them. Yet it was an insurrection. And like I said, we've been hearing for the last 6 months, they nearly overtook the government. You're going to tell me a bunch of people who were unarmed almost overtook the government on January 6th. But here it is, the middle of June of 2021, and now we need F-15s and nuclear weapons to overtake the government. Now, I'm sure there's a couple FUDs in there in the military who will obey unconstitutional orders against its people, and they would gladly shoot American citizens for being American citizens. But let's go back to that line. The blood, or the tree of liberty, needs to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Let's not forget, Joe Biden, who the tyrant is, who the tyrants are. It's interesting, though, that the government, they say, rule us. They control you and I. And, interestingly enough, Joe Biden also made this comment talking about, from the beginning of time, that arms were regulated. This is further from the truth. Regulations actually started when American citizens, for some reason, started to become compliant with the government. And the government got a big head on their shoulders, believing that they were now our rulers. And so if we pass a restriction or a regulation on something, the people will be compliant, and they will no longer do whatever they were restricting or regulating. And he made a comment about tanks or cannons or some BS. Like I said, it's further from the truth. When people became soft and compliant, that's when the government stepped in and took it upon themselves to believe that they were your daddy. Let me tell you this. The tree of liberty needs to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.